Welcome everybody to the Chandler City Council special meeting of Monday, June 25th. Council, today we're here to interview 9 candidates for the vacant council seat vacated by Council Member Nora Ellen, who's running for another elective office. I wanted to go over just briefly the process with the council and the applicants and see if we're all on the same page. What we have, council, we have about, if all goes well, we about 20 minutes per person approximately, but if it goes a little longer, fine, a little shorter, that's fine too. I thought what we would do, I've got a hat, we'll draw names out of the hat. Dave Bigos provided the hat, and so we'll draw names to determine who goes first, and then after that person goes, we'll draw a second. But Renee had a good idea, and I made it intentionally. I had all of the candidates get the package with the questions so that nobody could say, hey, this happened or that happened, that everybody got the questions and was able to look at the questions before the meeting. But I think what we'll do is we'll start with all 9 folks in the council conference room. That way there's no advantage to somebody sitting through and hearing the first 5 answers, and then maybe they could have an advantage, maybe they couldn't, I don't know. But I thought what we'll do is start with everybody, except the first one, that we won't make them go back and forth. And then we'll continue to draw and bring them out. And once you've given your presentation, you can stay for the rest. How does that sound, council? Okay, that way I think it's totally fair and nobody can be accused of having an unfair advantage. So, council, we do have 9 candidates. We have Dr. William Crawford III, Matt Eberly, Victor Hardy, Aaron Harris, Jill Hudson, Jeremy McClymans, Diane Ortiz Parsons, Ashay Piquette, and John Repar. So with that, we get ready to start. Council, what we're going to do too, the questions that the potential, the interviewees got, the 6 questions, we'll ask all 6 of those to each candidate. And what I'll do, I'll ask the first question, and then we'll just go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on each one so that we don't make it too complicated. So with that, got all your names on slips of paper, kind of like this. We're going to mix them up, and then I'm going to put them up here. And this will be the first one, and I'll have, after we announce the first one, I'll have the rest of you escorted into the council conference room by Erica. Actually, this is stuff's getting stuck in here. Somebody's helmet just bent, but I don't want anything getting. So we'll let you draw the first one. The first interviewee will be Victor Hardy. Victor Hardy. Okay. Good afternoon, Victor.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
So I think we'll start with the 1-minute statement, and then we'll go into the questions that you've seen.
Well, if I don't have a 1-minute statement, I'm just really honored and happy to be here. It's been a joy to be here in the city of Chandler. I've always enjoyed everything about it. I've grown with it. My children have grown with it. And so I'm just really happy to be here. Just one thing, because I know this is being taped and filmed, is that if you ever thought that you were by yourself, you ever thought that you were alone, and you didn't feel like you can move forward, no matter what age you are, I want you to know that you can pick yourself up and get into situations like this, that you can become the public person that you want to be, that person that you always wanted to be. Don't give up. Don't let things happen to you, and always stay hopeful. That's my statement for the day.
Okay, thank you, Victor. So first question, again, all of the interviewees have received these questions in advance, so no surprises. Why do you wish to fill the council vacancy?
Well, I wish to fill the council vacancy for the biggest reason is that I believe that I can move. I can do things that nobody else can do, that I can reach out to others, reach out to those who need a goal, reach out to those whom feel like they're being suffocated and not have a voice. I believe that I can give them the strength to move forward and be positive. And the growth and security and the strength of the city will fall upon those who need it. And I think that I'm that person to do that in assistance with everyone else here at the council. The council does a great job. Do not let me put anything like that out there. And the staff is fantastic. But I think that my addition to the council will help greatly.
Great. Terry? And council, at any time you have any follow-up or want a clarification, feel free to ask. Terry?
How have you been serving in the Chandler community, and what has been your involvement in the city of Chandler?
My involvement in the city of Chandler has been great. From the time that my family and I arrived here in this community, we have been involved in this community. My oldest son started it, David. He was in the Mayor's Youth Commission. And then my son Julian, who worked with Neighborhood Services. And then again, of course, you know, my wife Cynthia. She has been around for a long time. My involvement has been with For Our City, Human Relations Committee, Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration, Chandler Centennial Celebration, Chandler Men of Action, Chandler Symphony Orchestra, and other events and celebrations that have gone on here in the city. It's been my great opportunity to be co-chair for the East Valley Mayor Prayer Breakfast. I really enjoyed that with the mayor. I've done things with vice mayors. Each and every one of you I've had a program or event with, and I've really enjoyed it. So those are the things that I have been doing since I've been here in Chandler.
What strengths would you bring to the council?
My strength is already here, I think. I'm part of the community already. I've already sat down with numbers of different organizations from the Jewish Community Center to Chandler Charities, NAACP. I've already been there, and I'm already sitting at the table with all of them. And it's not that the council has a problem with these things. It's just that I think that my strength in talking to them and already being there, I think that will make it better for all of us. Because of that, I think that I will create a bridge between the council and the other organizations.
Sam?
What would you envision your goals and priorities to be if you are selected as a council member?
My first priority is to learn and understand the process by which the council does things, and the city, how it moves. My first priority is always to learn and be knowledgeable before I start doing anything else. After that, then I will want to be able to search out those things that will help the council and the city grow. I have quick answers if you don't mind. Go ahead.
Our time is your time. You're doing fine.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Victor.
Good afternoon.
Please describe what you consider to be the biggest challenges that the city of Chandler currently is facing.
The challenge at this time goes on how people will live in the city. We're running out of space. We're building things all over. My problem that I'm seeing is that there are some people whom are being moved out and not being brought into the planning of the city. So I have a problem with some of the tax revenues that's going to go on because a lot of the buildings that are being built will overshadow a lot of the properties that's near them. And so those tax properties will probably grow. What they need to understand, though, is that how they can stop this from happening on their own property. So I think that this is a challenge for the council to make sure that everybody understands what they are wanting to do and how they're wanting to do it to hold on to their own homes and their own properties. The tax situation has always been a problem for every city. Once you start building and things start going up higher, people get disenfranchised and they don't feel like they have a voice to keep their own property.
Victor, when you answer that question, what I'm hearing is maybe you're talking about downtown redevelopment and some of the relocates and.
Yes, I am talking about some of that, but also those people whom are out on the outside, because even where I live, there are new homes and new houses going up also. So it's not just downtown, it's all over the city where this is happening. And I think a lot of people feel like, well, where did this come from? They have to understand that, you know, there's a city planning and there's something that you can do that you can understand as to where these buildings are going and how high those property taxes may go depending on the math that everybody does for it. There's also there's also ways in which you can look at different, I can't think of the word now, look at different issues in which you can, the people of the city can go and figure out everything that they want to do with their own property. They need to study it. They need to be involved in it. The problem with the council at this time is that I think everything's going up really quickly and a lot of people are feeling disenfranchised and they're being pushed aside and they don't feel like they have that voice that they can say what they want to do with their property. Even if they sell it, how much money will they get? How much money will be sold? You know, those type of things are going to be happening. And I think that's a huge problem for the city right now in that we're putting things here and there and it's a look forward. I think it's more of a look forward with the people instead of just the property.
Thank you.
Victor, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
All right.
Thanks for being here. As you look at what council has done over the past 5 years, what policy, decision, or vote do you disagree with and why?
Well, in the past 5 years, I have not disagreed with the votes. The council does a great job and they really look at every possible situation. And like before I said, there's a problem. I think that we can look further in the process of what's going on and how we're doing things. A good example of this is that there was a vote to raise the facilities downtown so that people can use the facilities here. And that was a good vote. I thought that was a good idea. The problem happened was that the process didn't go further in which how it affected the 501Cs because it voted them out of doing things downtown. They couldn't afford it anymore. So there were some 501Cs that were not able to come in and do the same thing that they did the year before. So that's the problem I have. Well, not problem, but I think we can look forward to taking that extra step and talking to those people who may be disenfranchised about those things that may happen. The city, like I said, and the staff does a great job in doing all these things, but I think that we can take one more step to look at what's going on with with the things that we're doing.
Yes. Councilmember Hartkey.
Yes, Council.
Thank you. I'm trying to condense your last comment. Would you say, I think I heard we can always do better communicating. Is that in terms of around the decision so that people know and can make proper adjustments?
Well, yes, and also the communication between council and the people in the city. I think that we can make a bridge. I think we can do better at that. I think that most people have a problem coming to council and speaking up for themselves. And it has nothing to do with the council itself. It has to do with their perception of what they can do. And I believe that I can bridge that gap because when I first got here, nobody knew me, nobody saw me. My wife was here, and I became known as Cynthia's husband. And then as time grew, I got to know each and every one of you, and I got to understand the process. And so when people come to council meetings, which I strongly advise people to do, they can see exactly how the city works. Go to planning committee meetings. Go to all the things that are going on here in the city so that you can understand each and every possibility that you can have within the city to grow it and make it better.
Good. Any follow-up from council? Okay. Victor, any closing comments? You got a little time on the clock.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Council, I appreciate this time that I've had with you. I appreciate the time that you took to at least look at all of us, and I'm just happy to be here. And I don't know how often I can say that. I'm just happy that I'm in the nominations and all that kind of good stuff, because when you look at, but for me, when I see myself, I never saw myself standing before council to be a part of a council. And I want other people to understand that the longer that you are here, that you have hope, that you have grace, that you have everything that you have, that you can do the same thing. None of these things happened to me until I was over 50 years old. So it is possible. So I thank each and every one of you for your time and your patience with me. I know I'm kind of silly sometimes, and I enjoy each and every one of you. You all have your own little, yeah, y'all got some problems. And that's what I enjoy. And that's what I enjoy about each and every one of you. And I appreciate you, each and every one. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Victor. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Terry, you want to have you draw the next name?
Okay.
Jeremy McClymans. I think he's going back to San Diego. I think he was going somewhere. Okay, Jeremy McClymans, welcome.
Welcome. I can tell you, I'm pretty excited about going to. It would have been a long wait in there. But good afternoon. My name is Jeremy McClymans, and I've called Chandler home for the last 15 years. My wife Sheila and I raised our two kids, Jeff and Gabrielle, here in Chandler. And I'm blessed that I have a wife and kids that provide unwavering support to my ambitions and passion to make Chandler, our home city, a better place to live. Chandler's been fortunate to have generations of amazing leadership in our city staff, our mayors, and our councils. And I'm truly honored to be among the short list of candidates for appointment to such a great heritage of public servants. I believe my experience, My record of hard work and my dedicated service to the community will be an asset to the city of Chandler. And I'm honored to stand before you today to share my heart, vision, passion, and goals. And it is my hope that I'll soon stand among you, serve alongside you, and partner with you for the good of the city that we love so much. Thank you so much.
Jeremy, why do you wish to fill the council vacancy?
Why? That's a great question. I want to serve in city council because I want to make an impact in a new and challenging way to the city of Chandler. The city is a place where my family, my friends, my neighbors, people I care about call home. And I believe that with my experience and skill set, I can make Chandler a better place to live for them. Throughout my career, I've strived to work with local organizations that make a significant improvement to the quality of life to the community at large. Occupying this seat is my opportunity to maximize the good I can do for the 257,000 people that live in our community. And I'm telling you, quite frankly, that gets me fired up. I know that if I'm given the opportunity to serve on council, I'll be able to leave a legacy of positive impact that the people I love and the community I love can be proud of and benefit from for years to come. And so the Chandler City Council has already been making these type of impacts for years. Consider council spearheading the recruitment of Chandler Fashion Center back in 2001. That coincided with the completion of Price Road to Chandler. I'm sorry, completion of Loop 101 to Chandler at Price Road. Chandler Fashion is the second largest mall in the metropolitan Phoenix area. It brought Chandler a robust and retail and an entertainment district that still to this day is contributing greatly to our employment sector. Think of Veterans Oasis Park. That was created in 2007. In my opinion, it's the best park in Chandler. It offers trails to run, walk, bike, places to relax, bird watch. If you enjoy fishing, it's got a great urban lake, and it reflects the best sunsets in Chandler. But even cooler is the lake actually serves a dual purpose, as it's one of the cogs in the machine that treat our affluent water. And lastly, remember the impact of the burying of the SRP power lines on Price Road. I like to call this the invisible legacy. Large above-ground power lines that would have otherwise been an eyesore to the surrounding neighborhoods and businesses will be buried. I applaud all of you for maneuvering the tough tides to sway SRP to bury the lines. This historic achievement, unprecedented in Arizona history, will benefit Chandler residents for years to come. This is what public service is all about. Thousands of people will drive across and enjoy the beauty of an unobstructed skyline, and they'll never really know the work that it took to accomplish that. This is what I call an invisible legacy. That's protecting our beauty and going unnoticed for it. That's making an impact. These are the type of projects that I'm excited to be a part of, and this is the type of impact that I'm excited to be a part of. And if I'm given the opportunity, I will give everything I have in serving on council to see this kind of prosperity and growth continue in Chandler.
Terry?
Thank you, Mayor. Jeremy, question 2. How have you been serving in the Chandler community, and what has been your involvement in the city of Chandler?
Look, I love Chandler. It's a world-class city. I have a strong passion to contribute back to the community so my family and neighbors can experience the same reality for generations to come. I believe that children and commerce are the lifeblood of all great communities. We must care for our children because they're our future, and we must drive commerce because we want a strong economy in our community. With this conviction as my foundation, I've given my time and service to several local organizations. The Compadres, I'm a 5-year member of the Chandler Compadres. I currently serve on the board. I oversee membership development. I'm the membership development chair. The Chandler Compadres are a member-run organization that raise a ton of funds for local kids' charities. And for the first time in our 38-year history, we raised $1 million net for local kids' charities. And I'm proud to say I was named Compadre of the Year in our best year ever. It was a true honor to be highlighted as a standout contributor among 40 other members that are also significant community leaders in their own right. Kiwanis, I'm an 8-year member of Kiwanis, 2-term president of Kiwanis Chandler Young Professionals, and I still serve on the board. Kiwanis is also another organization that looks to serve the needs of children through local fundraising projects and service projects. The Chandler Chamber, I'm an 8-year member. I'm the past chairman of the board of the chamber, and I'm still serving on the board currently as the Business and Development Membership Chair. The goal in my current role is to grow the chamber through new members and retain the current members that we have. In my very first year on the chamber, I served in that same role, and I'm proud to say I was part of the team that grew the chamber to the 3rd largest chamber in the state of Arizona. It has been awesome to be part of an organization, to have a hand in leading an organization that's consistently award-winning. I also serve on the City Chandler Parks and Recreation Board. Chandler's home to 65 parks, one every square mile, and Chandler hosts almost hundreds of events each year. It's cool to be part of the team that puts the play and live, work, and play in Chandler. Lastly, I served in 2016 as chairman on Vote Yes on Prop 493. This supported the passing of Chandler's general plan that outlines where and how we'll develop or redevelop as we reach build out over time. In my first foray into politics, it was incredibly rewarding to watch the passing of the general plan with 83% of the vote when other municipalities actually saw their general plan fail. Throughout my years, I have contributed to the community economically, charitably, and politically, and I've not only participated in these organizations, but I've served them with distinction and success in my efforts to make Chandler better.
Renee.
Jeremy, what strengths would you bring to the council?
Okay, I'm an accomplished finance, sales, and management professional with 20 plus years of dynamic strengths to bring to council. Now look, the strength I'm most proud of is my loyalty and commitment to Chandler. On this note, I'm going to take a moment and speak from the heart. For almost 3 years, I've worked to build a relationship with the community on social media through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I have built well over 10,000 followers among platforms, and I have promoted Chandler on my time and my dime. I created a significant online presence fueled by the motto, I am Chandler loyal, and you should be too. I was not incentivized to do this. I just have a passion to promote Chandler, and I've done so through thousands of posts highlighting businesses and events in Chandler. And furthermore, I have not posted about my own business once. I truly do it for the connection and betterment of the community. And I really think this kind of loyalty is a special strength that I bring to council. Another significant strength of mine is my financial and business expertise. Look, financial and retirement planning is my experience, my education. It is my livelihood. I thrive in the world of spreadsheets, analysis, investments, and budgets, and I excel at, and I enjoy the kind of fiscal management responsibilities that would come with serving on council. The small business I own recently was awarded the Chandler Chamber Micro Business of the Year. In my successful business, I live and breathe the local business community, whether it's through recommending investments for my clients or providing guidance for my clients in their own business. I know how to work with and help individuals and clients and businesses succeed. This is what I do for a living, and this is a strength that I'll bring to council. My third strength is I thrive in business development, sales, and membership growth. Beyond my own business, there's a specific reason why I was selected to run this aspect of two prominent local organizations in the Chandler Chamber and the Chandler Compadres. I have found success in both organizations because I focus on building and maintaining strategic partnerships with our key leaders in our city. And I believe that we can do great things in Chandler when we're able to work with all stakeholders. I'm a leader and team builder, and I have verifiable year after year experience in my own businesses and in all organizations in which I commit my time, talent, and treasure. And it would be a privilege, to use these skills and experience I've built over the years serving the community through this seat on council.
Sam?
If you are selected as a council member, what would you envision your goals and priorities?
Okay. I believe Chandler is what I would call a right-sized city. Mayor and council have held a consistent mindset to manage expenses and spending carefully and appropriately. I'm fiscally conservative, but I don't always believe that the best way to run a business, or a city for that matter, is to spend as little as possible. In other words, my goal is to continue with the right-sized city mindset and invest and manage expenses optimally so we can create a prosperous and healthy place to live. Arts, culture, parks, rec, public safety, water, solid waste, all of these must be funded properly and thoughtfully, as they're critical for our current residents and they're crucial in attracting new residents and businesses. My second goal is to create a smart city. This is an often overused and trendy term, but the meaning and concept is significant. Use technology to increase or improve efficiencies. The light rail, in my opinion, is an antiquated technology that would be ineffective in Chandler because we don't have the density. We are, but we still need to move people, okay? And we are already well on our way to becoming the autonomous car capital of the world. And one idea is if we're to effectively able to use this technology, we could have the first world-class public transportation, autonomous public transportation system in Chandler in a matter of years. I believe that we should look at cities for best practices that are utilizing technology to improve efficiencies and then emulate them. And in this area, we're already on the path to becoming a smart city. We're on the journey from good to great. I just want to see us go from great to elite. And then finally, my most important goal is to continue to foster an economically thriving city. I want to look for new opportunities to enhance our already business-friendly environment. I want to scout new concepts to drive innovation that will help build homegrown businesses. I want to use tax incentives to attract, retain, or help businesses expand, but I only want to do it when it's a no-brainer, where the expected benefit greatly outweighs the expected cost. We should continue to look to work with our community partners, Chandler Chamber, GPAC, East Valley Partnerships, to support, retain, and attract new businesses. And we should focus on industries that well match our area's assets and are also poised for growth in the future. Those industries are renewable energy, biomedical and personalized medicine, advanced business services, manufacturing and distribution, mission-critical 24-hour services, aerospace and aviation, and emerging technology. In summary, it is my goal to build a right-sized, smart, economically thriving city, and I believe that these three goals are interdependent and can be accomplished in a fiscally responsible way.
Hey, Jeremy, please describe what you consider to be the biggest challenge that the city of Chandler is currently facing.
I believe that our biggest challenge is navigating the build-out. And Chandler's already developed a reputation as a high-tech community, and we will continue to attract knowledge-based employers and employees that seek an urban living environment if we manage the build-out effectively. Consider the complications. Right now, we're projected to reach 300,000 by 2040, and the progress of the build-out is already making an impact to the residents of Chandler in that we're hearing complaints of the number of apartments and storage facilities that have been built out in the last couple of years. City council must make difficult case-by-case decisions using the general plan as a roadmap to find the optimal balance between residential, commercial, industrial, and public areas, and so we can not necessarily be unnecessarily swayed to deviate from by the private sector. With limited land resources, it'll be increasingly difficult and important for the city to seek effective redevelopment of obsolete sites and best use development of vacant land to expand our economic development opportunities. And then lastly, the development fee revenue will be significantly reduced as we approach build out and development slows. And so this will create a revenue shortage in our budget that we'll have to manage through careful planning. I'm not afraid of these challenges. In fact, I find these solving difficult problems very rewarding, and I have the toolkit to find effective solutions that these challenges and we're facing as a city.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, Jeremy. I got stuck with the question where you have to kind of call out council. So if you look over the past 5 years, what council policy or decision or vote do you disagree with and why?
Okay, this is a difficult question to answer because you all do great work, and Chandler is very well run because of it. So kudos to you all for making it difficult for me to find a decision to disagree with you. With that in mind, in my opinion, the development at the southwest corner of Ocotillo and Gilbert has zero exterior design and does not fit in with the Southeast Chandler area plan. The store's interior is phenomenal, but the exterior is as plain as it gets. 2 other developments in the area spend a significant amount of time, energy, and resources to get the look and feel of the rural agrarian development as required. And our city deserves world-class design, and this council has made developers deliver high-quality design time and time again, but for whatever reason, this particular development seemed to have slipped through the cracks. That said, the health and stability of the city of Chandler is a clear indication and clear evidence that council makes consistent and responsible, thoughtful decisions from time to time. That's all I have. Thank you so much for your hard work. Thanks for hearing me share my heart, vision, passion, and goals for the city of Chandler. And that's all I have.
Right on time. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And you can feel free to stay and listen to the rest if you want. I think Victor had to leave, but
Okay.
It's open if you want to stay and watch. Okay. You, no, you. Just one.
You don't need to put that high. Okay,
Matt Eberly. Welcome, Matt. Just wait 1 second. Mark will be right back in. Okay, welcome, Matt. Opening statement, minute or so?
Mayor Tibshraeny and council members, I'm honored to stand before you this afternoon to be selected along with 8 other leaders here in the community. Chandler has become a great city through your leadership over the years. Through consistency and approach, calculated risk, a willingness to serve people, keen directional sense, continued investment in the community, and many other factors. I believe that I possess these qualities and would love the opportunity to benefit council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Matt, why do you wish to fill the council vacancy?
Council member Nora Ellen is a leader who has vision and has worked diligently to move Chandler forward. I have proven throughout my career to be a leader who has vision for the future. I have a proven track record of success in large, complex organizations. I have a proven track record of success through collaboration. I'm willing to make difficult decisions when required, and have shown this during difficult times that have ultimately led to true shareholder value enhancement. I have a strong work ethic. I have a love for people that transcends practically everything else that I just mentioned. It's my driving force for what I do. I truly love for people in the council member role to combine compassion with the scales of equity. It requires immense effort and a long-suffering care, as well as the skills to look forward and understand to the best of human capability what the future might look like. In addition, last election cycle, I received 29,500 votes. Thank you.
Terry.
Hey, Matt. How have you been serving in the Chandler community, and what has been your involvement in the city of Chandler?
So I'm currently serving my second term on the Architecture Review Committee, where we've helped to determine the best course of action for many businesses downtown in conjunction with our city planners. And the ARC board is a guide for renovations downtown, and one of our big projects that I like to talk about is Las Palmas Cantina, which recently opened, and this is just an example of how our board has worked with the city planners in really accelerating and facilitating movement through the process to make sure that this restaurant was able to open on a timely basis and not get bogged down in regulations or misunderstandings. And I think that the city's done this extremely well, and I'm thrilled to be a part of that board. I'm currently serving my first term on planning and zoning, which I started in May. And it really is a privilege and honor to work with our city planners on planning and zoning. I'm learning a ton there. It's an educational endeavor currently. It's great to see our city's clients being served. And you know, as we near build out, obviously, we get more selective in the projects that we pick, and the planners seem like they're going deeper into the projects to make sure that we've got the right fit for the remaining space that we have. I've also been active on the board of my church and associated ministries for over a decade here in Chandler. My tenure as treasurer began almost a decade ago when I developed a strategy for them to combine variable debt with swaps to form a synthetic fixed security that essentially will save us hundreds of thousands of dollars over the life of the bonds. I've negotiated and have helped to establish financial agreements that are advantageous to the entity, and this includes Chandler IDA bonds that we purchased. I agreed to take on the CFO duties about 4.5 years ago, in addition to the treasurer. And when I took over those duties, our church had a little bit under 10 million in debt 4.5 years ago. Today, we are at just a hair above 4 million in debt. So we've retired 6 million in debt under my leadership in 4.5 years. Thank you.
What strengths would you bring to the city council?
So an acute ability to digest massive amounts of information, understanding the strengths and weaknesses of complex organizations, and the ability to collaborate effectively to work towards workable solutions that salvage and advance an organization. I've been involved in deals where we've salvaged assets and created new divisions. I went through this about 12 years ago where we essentially took an entity that was all but bankrupt, salvaged the assets, went out and spoke with companies like Marathon Oil, Shell Oil, GE, got them into a bidding process, a little bit of a bidding war for the assets. Ultimately, the assets were acquired by GE, and we literally started a business within GE Energy with those assets, and that business has continued on for years. And then I became one of the principals in that particular business unit for GE. In my current role as managing member of Biltmore Executive Group, our clients include large, sophisticated entities looking for advantages in the current business climate. And I'll just run down a list of the type of work that we do. Tax credits or advantages unknown to the client, acquisition opportunities and business combinations, restructuring of entities and or personnel, industry best practices, software and automation projects, consultation with top executives and board members on a variety of topics, recruitment services, and that includes a pretty extensive network I have of top level executives around the valley. I bring large company executive experience, which takes a multitude of skills in itself. The abilities to discern human behavior while working within the constraints of existing problems and issues. And I've met and had conversations with thousands of people over the course of my career in various corporate roles. The abilities to deal effectively and concisely with the complexities of the aforementioned points. I believe I have a lot of tenacity to see a project through if I believe that there's value there, if there's a solution there that's attainable. Tireless and efficient work ethic. A collaborative viewpoint that seeks input from others. And I'm a firm believer that there can be wisdom in many voices that are available to contribute to a particular problem or issue. Ability to admit that I am wrong in my thinking, and the ability to turn quickly once I have that understanding to work for a viable solution. And I seek to understand first and then be understood.
Sam.
So what would you envision your goals and priorities to be if you are selected as a council member?
So in my mind, I have these separated between external and internal, and most of these are external, so that's where we'll start. I think we have to continue the financial success that the city has. We've got to keep our bonds at a very high-rated AAA by all three of the bond rating agencies, and you know that we're one of just a very few cities nationally that have this. And this, in a sense, is it's get out of jail free card perhaps, but it's what it does is that we have the opportunity to actually fail a little bit and still retain that status. It gives you a margin of error that you can go out, and one thing that this council has been effective at is you go out and you try new things. Not everything that you try works, but you've been very successful with many of those ventures. And so the bond rating in itself has given you some of that risk mitigation factor to go out and attempt new projects. I think that paying down the debt is important, building up the reserve, continuing to invest into the pension fund, and these are all things that currently happen here. From time to time, rebate checks go back, or the taxpayers receive back more of their money, in which case they are happy to infuse that back into the Chandler economy. And so I think that can be a a small driving force, and it's a motivating factor when you receive a rebate check, even if it's for $50 or $75. You know, it's a night out with your spouse or something. We grow city revenue by helping business grow, remembering that we value our people above everything else. I see myself as a neighborhood advocate in understanding their concerns about present and future circumstances, whether those are large or small. And I don't need to tell you how much time I've spent in the last 2 or 3 years in the neighborhoods. And so I do feel like I have a reasonable pulse as to what Chandler residents want. Chandler, we want to make Chandler as small business friendly as possible. Every large corporation started in someone's garage or at their kitchen table. And I think we do that. We want to continue doing that. Infrastructure and development, I think, is critical. And currently we have a lot of projects running concurrently, which presents a challenge to city staff. I think our staff has handled these challenges very well. They've been highly professional and are moving forward. And we have to continue to keep planning ahead of the rate that we're building. And that's difficult to do in a rapidly expanding economy like Chandler's. But again, I think we've been effective at it. At least my interactions with city staff and planning and zoning staff have been wonderful in that regard. As a council member, I think it's important to spend a specific amount of time on community relations, accessibility, and a willingness to explain your values, your views on what's going on in the city and the decisions that are made, you know, right here in council chambers. We need to continue to have a safe city. And I know that we're just a bit away from 50-year lows in violent crime. Those are great talking points, and we need to continue that policy and supporting our PD and first responders. More internally, I know there's been talk of Chandler becoming a smart city or looking into the aspect of a smart city. And what that means exactly, that's sort of a vague term, but I have full confidence that our city leadership and staff will figure out the most efficient and effective way to do that in a meaningful way where we're measuring and automating the critical, you know, pieces of technology or whatever that may be within the city to get the bang for our buck. And then internally, I think each of you ask yourselves questions like, does this process make sense? You know, does this process take multiple pieces of paper? How do we streamline? Are there opportunities to remove redundancies? And that's something that I think over the years, council and city staff has worked on. So those are things that I think will always exist. There's always opportunities for in any organization to look at internal possibilities there.
Sam.
Well, just one additional question, and I don't expect it to be very long, okay? What infrastructure would you see as a priority or something we need to finish as soon as possible or anything you would like to add? This is just envision. It doesn't mean you will.
So probably the number one thing that comes to mind here in the desert is always water, right? It's gold to us. So, you know, and as you know, you are the ones who have created Chandler as the only city in the state that has 100 years worth of water contracts currently, and you're going out looking for more. And I think that's wise. So we always want to be looking for water. You know, we get to opportunities where maybe the city is going to make an investment, and we look at Site 6, Site 7, the various investments that we're going to make, and what does the infrastructure look like for that project before it begins. And I think those are things that we do very well. And my point is we want to continue on that path of forward-looking and planning properly, even if projects are years out. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Matt. So please describe what you consider to be the biggest challenges that the city of Chandler is currently facing.
So this is a short list for me, but I think number one on the list is recession. And we may not be near that in 2018, but at some point we will have another recession. And what are we doing to mitigate that? And I think that one thing that I've been really impressed with and would love to be a part of is the reduction in the city budget over the last 2 years. I believe 2 years ago was what, 2.9%. For this fiscal year, we're looking at 5.8%-ish, 5.9, if I did the math right. That is a phenomenal figure that I believe is probably unmatched anywhere in the U.S. So what does that do for us? In my opinion, just looking at the city relying on less funds means that we won't have to react to that $80+ million that you just cut out of the budget over the last 2 years. You know, at some point that the development fees will slow down and that fees that we're generating currently will change. And so I think that's an extremely, visionary look forward move to understand, how, worst case scenario, if we have a recession, what do we look like? And obviously with Chandler, it means we probably don't have to go to layoffs immediately, and we'd have to go extremely deep into a recession to have to go there. And this is what we did last recession, and Chandler is noted for that around Arizona and other places. One of the things that you always have to worry about when you're in a place of excellence is becoming complacent. And I don't think that you can assume that you can appoint anyone or anyone can be elected into these positions and they will have the same mindset that you do about things. And so there's a course of action that requires education, a deeper understanding of city business and everything that probably goes along with being elected or appointed to council as you go through various aspects of training. And I think that's critical, that we have to understand we're only, so many council members away from not being an excellent city and not thinking in, certain visionary and forward-thinking ways that we do. I think we've diversified to offset as much of the risks that we can through other means, obviously.
Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Matt, for being here. And I've got the fun question of what policy decision or vote has council made that you've disagreed with and why?
So, yeah, I thought through this question, and I have to tell you that from a philosophical perspective, ideological perspective of government, I believe that any time that council does something in the dark that's shady or murky, that's not a good thing. I don't see that happening here in Chandler, but that's something that if we go in that direction, or if we sort of, get away from our base and what we know is right, then we will have issues. I think it's important that this council and the previous council were very good at being transparent and showing the public our wares and the different projects we have going on. Obviously, Mayor travels around the city and does various community outreach events to showcase new opportunities that the city is undertaking and that sort of thing. I think those are excellent, and what it gives to the public is that transparency that, hey, my city government is out working for me. In closing, I'd like to share a couple things with you that not even my closest friends know. But I'm going to share with you because I think it's appropriate. My wife, Donnelly, and I, who is in the audience, we have, over the last 2 decades, we have given away hundreds of thousands of dollars to charity. We have helped build our church, helped with a debt retirement, helped with operations. We've given to aid in Africa. the Haitian earthquake victims, hurricane aid and relief in Puerto Rico, and frankly, more causes than I can even remember at this point. Our hearts are in helping people. I have put off expanding my own company to do really what I would consider to be community service work at my church, to run for city council and undertake this endeavor, because I believe in keeping our city strong and our community strong. Our application required a credit check, and if you ran mine, you would see that I keep a small balance. I have excellent credit. I keep a small balance on a card that I like to rack airline miles up on. And that's it. I don't have any debt, no personal debt. I don't have any needs in this world, but my desire is to serve the community of Chandler. Mayor and council members, thank you for the privilege to stand here today before you. And I know this process is not an easy one for you. And I promise you that if I'm not appointed, I will fully support and endorse the person that you appoint for this role. Thank you.
Thank you. And you can stay if you want to watch the rest. It's totally up to you. Council, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and get back to it. Okay, we'll reconvene the council meeting. We're going to ask Mr. Hartkey to draw the next name out of the hat. Aaron Harris Sr. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for being here. Okay, Aaron, welcome. Appreciate your involvement. Why don't you start with your 1-minute opening statement?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Tibbs Rainey, members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to interview for the vacancy here. I know this is an arduous process. I know the members of our community have spoken as far as what they would like to see within the next council member. I'm poised to strengthen the quality of life for all, to work with the mayor, the current council, to continue the goals, strategic planning that have been in place prior to this opening, have been posted. I understand the importance of working together in order to complete a task. And that task, again, is the future of Chandler. The future of Chandler is important to me. I'm married, my children live here, and we plan on living here for a long time. And in order for Chandler to continue to be a world-class city, we must have a council member that understands that, that's willing to work, again, with current council and the mayor to achieve the goals that have been placed. My civic interests and duties, have afforded me the unique opportunity to work, with many stakeholders across the city. As a K-12 educator, I understand the importance of assessment, implementation, and accountability. Again, I thank you for the opportunity, and looking forward to going through the next questions with you all. Thank you.
Great. Okay, why do you wish to fill the council vacancy?
I wish to fill the council vacancy because of my love for Chandler. I love Chandler. This is a place where my family and we call home. Integrity and commitment are my guiding principles. Again, I think that that's critical for the next member on this council. I'm motivated to work for a world-class city with a strong model economy. Again, I will continue to be supportive of the mayor's and the council's vision, long-term goals, and strategic planning. Future of Chandler is bright for my family, your family, future generations to come. And again, I'm poised, willing to accept this opportunity, ready to go to work, hit the ground running.
Thank you.
Aaron, question 2, how have you been serving in the Chandler community, and what has been your involvement in the city of Chandler?
Again, I have a great affection and love for our city. I am an educator, a true champion for education. I've served on the board of directors for the Chandler Gilbert Family YMCA. From there, I was community development director, and I won community development chair of the year. And so that was a huge honor for me because I was able to get out in the community to meet the stakeholders throughout the city to understand what the needs were for our youth. So from there, we were able to put together a strategic plan, put together opportunities for families and youth so that they could have a place to go before, during, and after school. I've applied for many boards and commissions throughout the city, and you all appointed me, thank you, to the Citizens Panel for Police Complaints and Use of Force. Safety is a priority for everyone here in our city, and from there I've been able to understand many facets of policing throughout our city. I completed the Citizens Police Academy, and I continue to serve on that board, and I'm finishing my second term as chair of that committee, that panel. So I understand, again, where the needs are throughout our city and where we need to place our resources in order for us to continue to be a safe city and have strong neighborhoods. I was recently appointed to Human Services and Housing Commission, and so that's been a great opportunity for me. Only a couple months into that position, but I understand the needs of our low socioeconomic residents here in Chandler and what their needs are. Again, you know, our housing projects have been here since the 70s, and as far as I know, they're going to be here for years to come. And so there are needs there. We do have citizens that are underrepresented, disenfranchised, and so as a council member, I'm here to serve all. And so that appointment, the work that I've done there and will continue to do, unless I'm appointed, you know, will show my commitment through the city for all residents. Recently became a member of Chandler Exchange Club. So again, that also shows, you know, a commitment. I'm here to serve, public servant. I am, and that means placing others before me. And again, I believe my work within the city. I've named several things. There's more, but I know I'm, you know, limited to time. But those are the highlights of my involvement throughout the community. Thank you.
What strengths would you bring to the city council?
A great listener, problem solver. Again, as a K-12 educator, very analytical. And so in order to spend resources in education, you must identify a problem. You identify a problem, what resources are you going to put toward that problem to solve? And after those resources are in place, you must have an accountability plan in place in order to show that the money was well spent. Again, as a public servant, I place others before myself. I don't have a personal agenda. Yes, I do have goals, but the constituents, the residents of Chandler, their needs are above our needs. And again, we're going to work together as a council to make sure that we understand, we identify those needs, and that we solve those problems. Again, our government here in Chandler, we have to provide services most efficient manner possible so that it's not an overreach, so that we continually maintain, you know, fiscal accountability for today and for the future.
If you are selected as a council member, what would you envision your goals and priorities to be?
Goals and priorities would be to, first of all, take a look at the city code, the charter. It's huge. Again, standing on this side, I only know so much, but becoming a council member, there's going to be a learning curve. And, you know, I'm willing to admit that. So again, it would be to go through our code, understand the ordinances, frequent meetings with the mayor and the council, city manager, city attorney, so that I know, you know, what the real issues are here in Chandler and what the priorities are. I don't want to, you know, come in as a know-it-all. I understand there's going to be a learning curve. There's a big vacancy here by Councilwoman Ellen, and so there's big shoes to fill. So I have to get in and hit the ground running, but I have to, you know, understand that there's a learning curve. So I'm definitely going to listen first before I make any decisions. Again, I've ran in 2016. I'm currently a candidate now. Safety is a priority. Strong neighborhoods are a priority. Redevelopment, smart growth in our older aging communities. But again, is that really the need of Chandler right now? Are there other things that this council and mayor have identified that we need to work on first before I start with my priorities? So again, I'm definitely going to be willing to listen so that we have alignment. That's going to be critical. I don't want to come in, and this is about Councilmember Harris and what his needs are. Again, it's about a collective body, the goals that we've identified, and the goals and needs of our constituents.
Aaron, can you please describe what you consider to be the biggest challenges that the city of Chandler is currently facing?
Again, I'm going to go back to smart growth. We have aging communities. I've seen as a community member development is going further south, southeast, and I see holes within downtown North Chandler and even on the west side of Chandler. And as I'm out campaigning, these are the things and the issues that the residents, constituents have identified, and they're asking me to solve and to assist with. Smart growth, meaning economic development in those older areas, housing, affordable housing for residents in those areas, improving the livability and the quality of life for residents in those areas. They may not have the means to live, but again, education is the key. It's the road to freedom. And so as an educator, I realize that partnering with our school districts, Chandler, Kyrene, charter schools, we've got to get out and we've got to make sure that the residents in those areas are educated and that they understand that they have a way out of their current situation, because we can't give our government away. I definitely understand that, but equal resources, is an issue for some in those areas. And so if they are there, then we may have to educate them to let them know they are, and here's your pathway to those resources.
Thank you, Aaron. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Can you share with us a decision or a vote that we've made as a council over the past 5 years that you disagree with, and why?
Well, I struggled with this when there were several issues. I wanted to discuss the dispensary and the placement of the dispensary, our newest one in town, but I decided to go away from that, and I'll focus on the red light cameras. And the reason why I focus on the red light cameras is because I believe it's a violation of our Sixth Amendment. I believe that residents have the right to confront their accuser, and with this current design and placement of cameras, residents don't have that opportunity. I understand, and again, I'm all for safety, my number one priority. I understand it is reducing red light runners and accidents at those intersections. But again, you have perception of your community, and some think that it's a revenue generator. I know we have facts posted online, but I think we need to get out more and share with that, because we're only one of, I believe, 6 cities that have, red light cams, speeding cams. I think the human element is critical. I think more officers present will help reduce that. We've done a great job with safer intersections, but I still see issues with placement of the beautification in the center of the roadway, with trees, with the street signs. So you have some congestion there, and I think if we open and expand, our intersections, I think that would help cut back on the need of traffic cams. We have the speeding boards as you approach the intersection, but there's still just the perception and education of how far am I into the intersection before, my picture is taken. And so now you have some privacy issues because you have another party that is reviewing that information before our law enforcement reviews it to make sure that it was an offense. Now, I understand constitutionally it's a civil offense, it's not a criminal offense, but I still have a problem with that personally, and several residents throughout our city do as well. And we are at a 5-year contract, so I struggle with the amount of time for that. I wish it would have been shorter so that we could have some time to take a look at data and share it with our community to see if it was really worth investing in and signing for that length of time. Thank you.
Okay, we got a little time. Any closing comments or?
No, I feel I've answered, the questions and, my passions. Again, I've ran before 2016, just completed the chamber forum. I really, would like to fill this vacancy because of my passion. I care, my love for the city, hopefully I exude that and show that. I just don't really have anything else to say other than, I hope that I'm selected. If not, I thank you for the opportunity, and I know you'll select the best candidate.
Thank you, Aaron. We appreciate your time.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Okay, Mr. Marr. Diane Ortiz Parsons.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. We're going to let you get started with your opening statement.
As all of you know, I'm Diane Ortiz Parsons, and Chandler is my hometown. My family was a part of this community before there was a Chandler. I'm very proud of this city and its history, and I look forward to the future of Chandler, not only to be fiscally and educationally superior to many others, but also to be that small, welcoming town. I envision Chandler in the future, and we need to have a passionate, continued, experienced planners, fiscally conservative agenda to continue this wonderful opportunity that we have before us. And I believe and welcome the opportunity to serve the residents in Chandler.
Okay. Why do you wish to fill the council vacancy?
Interestingly enough, when I was in high school, as the mayor knows, Chandler's population was about 14,000. And all around the town was a rumor, Chandler's going to be the next Scottsdale. And people would laugh. They would laugh at it. And I thought, Scottsdale, that's a nice place. And I wanted to be part of that and part of the vision. And I was able to mobilize people for a cause, so I thought, I'll run for Chandler City Council. Now, I had just graduated from high school. It was Chandler's first opportunity. The state had just dropped the voting age to 18. Chandler being Chandler, so small, they didn't know if I could run. So I ran as a write-in candidate. Years have gone by. I've been on many different positions, leadership positions and committees throughout Chandler. I believe I have the tools necessary to be a contributing member. And I think more importantly, I think we need female representation to enhance our council at this time.
Terry.
Okay, Diane, how have you been serving in the Chandler community, and what has been your involvement in the city of Chandler?
Am I being timed? When I was 12 years old, my mother said, you can't sit on the couch. You can either volunteer at church or volunteer in Scouts. Well, I chose Head Start, and I worked for Hoy Payne, who eventually became mayor of Chandler. Little did I know that that decision would change what I envisioned, my plan, which I had thought from very young that I would be an attorney. And instead, I spent 35 years K-12 and higher education. From there, in college, I volunteered as coach for soccer and softball In the 80s, I began teaching. I found there were various things that students needed. In particular, many of them didn't have a place to attend after school. So I started a kids club where I addressed community members. In particular, I hit up Sun Lakes as well as teachers, and I asked them to share their passion or what brought them joy. And within the community, I ended up finding people that taught harmonica lessons, baton twirling, knitting, window etching. It was a great opportunity. It gave them a free safe zone. Also, while I was at it, I started an after-school program under Fine Arts. We put on programs such as Oliver Twist, The Nutcracker, Scrooge, Cinderella. And eventually, when Chandler, the city, had the partnership with the school district, Chandler Center for the Arts was brought up in, I believe, 1989. And for the next 15 years, we were part of every Christmas holiday special. During that time, I was also, as a business owner, my husband and I owned Preference Drive-In Cleaners. We also assisted by cleaning dry cleaning choir robes, band uniforms, participating in advertising with our basketball and football programs, as well as donating our goods whenever possible. Being a business owner, I also was part of the Chandler Chamber of Commerce and was heavily involved in Chandler's signature event, which is Chandler's Ostrich Festival. I helped with the parade, as well as I was the merchandising chair and the volunteer chair for the City of Chandler signature event. We had people from all over. And I did that till the event was sold to a vendor. But even to this day, I still volunteer time at the Ostrich Festival, gathering signatures for candidates as well as registering voters. Throughout the years, I was on planning and zoning for 6 years. It gave me a great opportunity to understand the process that you're in. I was also facilitator of the Southeast Area Plan. I think we are better than Scottsdale in many areas. It's far better than what I ever imagined on paper. I've also been part of Chandler Christian Community Center's board, where I wrote the policy manual as well as some of the details involved in setting up their budget. Following the 6 years there, I continued to volunteer at their food bank on Fridays, and when I moved to higher ed, I also required my students to be part of the service learning project and at least volunteer one Friday per semester. In and out, soccer, volleyball, softball. I've done many things in the city of Chandler. I think that's pretty much covers it.
What strengths would you bring to the city council?
Obviously, my understanding of the process with being on planning and zoning. I'm detail-oriented, trustworthy, punctual, and people-oriented. As a business owner, I went through the process of not only planning and zoning, but also the city bought out our original plant, which was where the bank situation is across the street. We put up 2 plants. We understand the process that many small businesses go through. I look at what I bring as far as with just my general understanding of the process. I am ready to jump in immediately and be a contributing member.
How would you envision your goals and priorities to be if you are selected as a council member?
Obviously, for me, I'm very passionate about the city. I want to be a representative of the constituency, but I also want to be extremely accessible to everyone. Another priority, I live in North Chandler. I look at our entryways, beautiful entryways from the south, not so much Arizona Avenue. I look at that. It's not that I want a grandiose monument, but I want something that says, you've left Mesa and you're now in Chandler. I also look at a priority to continue supporting the budget and encouraging everyone to be conscious and conservative in your efforts or bonding where it's at. I also would like to, we have a lot of multifamily, and yes, I sat on that Southeast area plan, and I knew what corridors it would mainly follow. But in the multifamily, I envision an opportunity that we really need to research for affordable senior citizens housing, as well as for our veterans. I see that as something that we could enhance in our city. And then there is what makes Chandler, that welcoming feeling, and to find a few more events that we could bring down that would allow for tourism and visitors.
Thank you, Dan. Next question is, please describe what you consider to be the biggest challenges that the city of Chandler is facing.
Biggest challenges, how do we keep that small town feeling when people are coming to Chandler because of our excellent educational opportunities, our numerous job opportunities? How do we keep that infrastructure, that transportation? Do we pay it ahead? How do we keep it all together so that it was one thing when Chandler was 4,000 when I was born, but with the census, we might be 280,000. How do we keep up with the number of people needing the infrastructure, including our water?
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for being here.
No problem.
So here's a good one. So over the past 5 years, what have we voted on, or what policy decision have we made that you have disagreed with, and why?
I've been pretty happy with the way things have been run with city council. I guess recently, the decision to put a discount tire in. Like I said, I was part of that Southeast area plan. I envisioned for that area, because there's residential so close by, I envisioned that they would be taking a stroll and they would go and maybe go to the Trader Joe's or find a restaurant within walking distance. I was not envisioning, in my mind, a discount tire. I would have voted no with the mayor.
Okay. We've got a few minutes left.
No problem.
Any closing or parting comments you'd like to make? You've got, like I say, a little bit of time.
I just would really welcome the opportunity to be a part of your team. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. You can stay as everybody that's
Okay.
already. Okay. No, Mark, just do it. Yeah. That's Shay Pickett.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to start with opening comments, so proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor Tibbs Shraney, City Council, Chandler residents. My name is Ashay Pickett, and I became a resident of Chandler in July of 2005. I moved to the Valley to work in technology, and in 2011, I became a homeowner in the traditional neighborhood of Pepperwood in Chandler. It is through that home ownership that I became enrolled in the Traditional Neighborhood Academy and was acquainted with the various services and amenities and the departments that keep the city running. Through my leadership, my neighborhood partnered with the city to reinvigorate its block watch, write several city grants, improve our community, and because of those efforts, the neighborhood was granted the Mayor's Excellence Award. I believe that engaged citizens are a vital component of any functioning city, and that the only problem worth mentioning is one that you're willing to help solve. It's my honor to be selected for interview for the appointment among a field of very highly qualified candidates, and I thank you for your consideration.
Great, thank you. Why do you wish to fill the council vacancy?
I wish to fill the city council vacancy because I believe in giving back. It's something that I've always sought to do through service to my community. I could say that it's just in my DNA. I was raised in a family that believed in activism through civic engagement. So I moved to Chandler and immediately sought ways to give back to my community. I feel that I stay abreast of the issues. I make certain that I, where I'm able, am a voice for people who don't feel comfortable. I like to connect people with services, make certain that they're aware of what they have available to them so that they can get their needs accommodated. My role in technology requires that I'm in a constant state of learning. So that's one of the things that I feel is a great quality. I love learning, and I would very much appreciate the opportunity to learn more about the city, how it functions, and be a vital part of seeing the city move forward with some of its initiatives. And to put it simply, I would love to serve because that is my heart. I'm a servant.
Pickett? How have you been serving in the Chandler community, and what has been your involvement in the city of Chandler?
Thank you. I've actually been serving on multiple levels. First, there's the indirect service to the city, which is primarily through personal volunteer work. I began volunteering with Junior Achievement when I first moved to Chandler, where I taught the 5th grade curriculum right down the street at San Marcos Elementary for 3 years. And I went on to become a with Big Brothers Big Sisters, where I was a mentor for 6 years to a young lady here in Chandler until we aged out of that match. And so it was wonderful to attend her performances, see the things that she was learning in school. And my desire to expose young women to technology led me to found, now in its 11th year, a field trip where I work with my counterparts at work to bring 100 young women on site to experience engineering firsthand. And in its 11th year, we've now reached over 1,000 young women in the East Valley, many of them from Chandler. I also was a precinct committeeman in my district for over 10 years and served on the executive leadership committee, which helped to reach out to residents, help them get informed about the issues. I made certain to go door to door, knock on doors, get to know my neighbors, and so I'm no stranger to engaging with my community. Through that, I also became a NAC member. So after completing the traditional neighborhood academy, I was asked to join the neighborhood advisory committee. And in that capacity, I've been able to engage with residents both at the Mayor's Listening Tour, through my service in the For Our City Day, Let's Pull Together, and consistently looking for opportunities to help residents who are new to being community leaders learn how to write for grants, identify areas where they can improve their neighborhoods through communication, using some of those grant funds, and doing things such as neighborhood cleanup days and such. I also was a member of the General Plan Update Committee, and in that capacity, I made certain to attend every meeting. I was one of the people who read cover to cover and submitted commentary on all of the different areas of the general plan, and majority of those comments were included in the final draft. So I serve both on the Arizona Humanities Board, where I've had the opportunity to learn about how boards function, and as part of being on the NAC, I've been able to engage with city staff and services such as code and neighborhood programs. So I've gained some visibility into various organizational structures within the city.
What strengths would you bring to the city council?
Thank you. I believe that the perspective I can bring is primarily as a technologist. I believe in continuous improvement based on data. I've engaged with residents on a regular basis, and so I have insight both to the positive and negative that people have experienced with the city. I'm very detail-oriented. As I mentioned, when I was on the general plan, I read every page. I make certain to be informed. It's something that I pride myself on in doing, perception management with my coworkers and, people in my circle who I work with professionally. One of the things that they say about me most often is, if you're meeting with Ashay, you better come prepared because she has the data and she's going to ask the hard questions. I have a proven record of service, in excellent service, no doubt. During my tenure as a software developer, was responsible for handling a $2.3 million budget for optimizing our licenses and finding places to reduce expenditures. And while that's a much smaller budget than that of the city, I am familiar with identifying opportunities for optimization, as well as understanding budgets. As this is something that I've also had the opportunity to do as a board member with Arizona Humanities, which is a statewide organization that focuses on civil and civic engagement and connectedness in communities. I always seek to find ways to build community wherever I go, and so this is something that I would also bring to the City Council if appointed.
So what would you envision your goals and priorities to be if you are selected as a council member?
Well, first off, I think that Chandler is a very well-managed city. I think that it's handled its finances excellently, made a lot of good decisions, And where I would like to see the city evolve is in the space of technology. I would most specifically like to see us realize that dream of becoming the most connected city in Arizona, and specifically looking at how we can leverage additional self-service capabilities, as well as looking at how we can implement preemptive technology within the infrastructure so that we can improve delivery of service and also look at how we can address issues before they happen. I also would really like to see the maturing neighborhoods within the city become points of pride and establish partnerships with them for addressing some of the unique opportunities that are facing those areas.
Good afternoon. So my question is, please describe what you consider to be the biggest challenges that the city of Chandler is currently facing.
So based on my time on the General Plan Update Committee, some of the long-term challenges for the city of Chandler as it transitions from being a growing city to a maturing city would be land use, making certain that we're looking at improving the aging infrastructure in neighborhoods, water planning as drought conditions become more prevalent. Like, these are certainly spaces where we need to make certain that there's good planning and execution by staff and city council. There are other areas that I like to just take, some cursory overview of the different things that external forces say, and being able to see what people who live in Chandler and work in Chandler are doing. So I went through some of the data on the city site to see what was available through, I love transparency in government. And I saw that the Chandler PD participates in the Open Data Initiative. While some of those things are not prevalent in other city departments, so I think this is an opportunity to institute some of those best practices from the Chandler PD and participate fully in all departments in open data. That being said, some of the challenges that I was able to review in some of those reports that were available was that the top crime in Chandler was theft at 72%. And so that's an area where we could look at, reducing that number. The poverty rate in Chandler is 10.4%, but the unemployment rate is, hovering a little above 3%. So that's a place where, while I don't know why there's that difference in employment, I would like to understand what we can do to reduce the poverty level, even though it is comparably smaller when looking at other cities in the valley. I think we don't want to just compare, we want to be the best, and all residents should have that opportunity. The recycle rate is 27%, and while the city is paying $35 per ton of waste, we're getting $18 per a ton of recycling. And so that's an opportunity. If we can increase the recycling to improve what residents are doing, then we can actually reduce the expenditures in waste management. So I think that this is an area of opportunity. I went out and I looked at some of the reviews on Glassdoor to see what our employees say are great things and things that are challenging about the city of Chandler. And since we're in the challenging area, I looked to see what that might be. And some of those things were in the technology space, that the website and other things need to be upgraded, and I know that that's in progress. But there were also concerns about implementation of projects that run a little long, and so there's an opportunity to review some of those things and see what we can do to reduce long-running projects and continuously improve in technology. And lastly, I wanted to know what are residents saying about Chandler. And in online forums such as Niche, where there were over 709 reviews, 200 of which were average or lower, the primary thing that people talked about was that they would like to see, more middle-income jobs. There's high tech and there's a lot of retail, but people would like to see some middle of the road, as well as looking at some architectural differentiation. So those were some of the things that people were saying, albeit anonymously, in review sites. And so I think that one of the things that we could look at is making certain that we look at both the perception of Chandler outside and within to make certain that we are addressing the concerns of residents.
And what was the name of that website again that you had the 700 responses that you looked at?
Niche, N-I-C-H-E.
N-I-C-H-E. And it's a particular to Chandler?
It's particular to cities in general, and you can filter to see which cities you'd like to see the comments for.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ashley. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
That's a great segue. You're talking about some opportunities. Can we talk a little bit about decisions we've made as a council over the past 5 years through policy or decision or vote that you've disagreed with and why?
Sure. One of the areas that I actually disagreed with was the decision to increase council pay. And it wasn't necessarily because I don't think that council members should be paid well, but I kind of looked at it as a bit of a conflict of interest, given that it's something that directly benefits the person who's voting on it. So in looking at a lot of different conflict of interest policies, typically it aligns with if you stand to benefit directly from it, it should be out of your control in terms of what you're voting on. So this was an area where I would likely not have voted to increase.
Okay, we still got a few minutes left.
Sure.
Any parting comments, closing comments, miscellaneous comments?
Oh, absolutely. I primarily would just like to say thank you for the opportunity and for the consideration. As I mentioned earlier, believe that Chandler is a wonderfully run city, and I would love the opportunity to contribute to that progress. I believe that I bring a multitude of experience with my engagement with the community, as well as the business aptitude that I've gained through my work in technology. I engage with lots of people who are in different communities of interest, such as younger residents, people who are in challenged communities. I lived in a traditional neighborhood for 7 years, so I'm very familiar with a lot of the issues that are facing those aging communities. And I love being a person who takes action. I never sit back on my laurels and wait. I'm a proactive person, and so I believe that if given the opportunity, I would be an asset to Chandler. And regardless, I'll continue to serve the community of Chandler in my capacity as the Neighborhood Advisory Committee Chair, and always looking for ways to improve the community of Chandler.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
You can stay if you want and watch the rest. It's up to you.
I'll stay for your time.
Dr. William Crawford. Welcome, Dr. Crawford.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for being here today. We appreciate that. How about we'll get started with opening comments?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you information about myself and why I believe my background and experience is a good fit to fill the vacant council member position. I have been employed in public service for over 47 years in a variety of positions, from entry level through senior leadership. Those years of experience have enabled me to hone my leadership abilities and acquire strengths that I believe will assist the council in moving the city of Chandler forward, ensuring that it remains a place where residents want to call home and raise their families, a place where businesses want to locate because they see Chandler as a thriving and growing community that values diversity and inclusion. The City Council matters to our city, its quality of life, its future, and I am ready and able to serve the City of Chandler.
Thank you. Why do you wish to fill the council vacancy?
My wife and I moved to Chandler over 20 years ago. One of the reasons we moved here is because Chandler was a growing and vibrant community. It continues to be so today. It's an awesome community that's been good to me, it's been good to my family, and I want to do my part to keep Chandler great. If I am selected to fill the council vacancy, I will be able to contribute to Chandler's continued development and progress. I have the knowledge and experience needed to do the job well. I am a dedicated hard worker, as evidenced by my professional career and my volunteer service to the city of Chandler, and I want to make a difference.
Terry.
Dr. Crawford. How have you been serving in the Chandler community, and what has been your involvement in the city of Chandler?
Citizen involvement in the city of Chandler is essential to its continued growth and vibrancy. My contributions to the city of Chandler include serving as the chair of the Chandler Merit Board, as a member of the Police Pension Board, as a member of the Chandler Fire Pension Board. I have worked for a number of years on the Operation Back to School Planning Committee and volunteered on Saturdays when the Operation Back to School takes place. I have worked very diligently with the East Valley Mayor's Prayer Breakfast Planning Committee when Chandler Gilbert Community College hosted that event. For several years, I was the key lead person in every one of those years, except for the most recent year. So I have worked very hard, very collaboratively with the city of Chandler. In the community, I serve as the chair of the Si Se Puedes Foundation's Board of Directors. You may know that it's a 501c3 organization, that it is very involved in providing STEM education to Chandler youth, that it is very involved in sponsoring a program in collaboration with Chandler Gilbert Community College known as the Scholars Program, where students go through an entire semester preparing them to go on to higher education. You may know that Si Se Puede provides cultural enrichment and recreational program for the Chandler youth, and I am proud to say that I serve in a leadership capacity there. I am a member of the Chandler Men of Action Board of Directors. The Chandler Men of Action Board provides scholarships to students annually, high school students annually, to continue their higher education. And for the past several years, as a result of my involvement with the Chandler Men of Action, I have been involved with the Multicultural Festival that's sponsored by the city of Chandler. I also serve as a member of the East Valley NAACP, and I participate on the East Valley NAACP's committee that interacts with the leadership of the Chandler Police Department, working collaboratively to strengthen the relationship between communities. Previously, I have served as the president of the Community Bridges Board of Directors. I have served as a member of the Covance Community Advisory Panel, as well as a member of the East Valley Boys and Girls Club. Those are just some examples of my involvement with the City of Chandler, as well as my participation and engagement as a volunteer with the community.
What strengths would you bring to the city council?
I bring a number of strengths that I'd like to share with you. First of all, I bring the strength of sound fiscal management and accountability. While I was employed with the Maricopa Community College for over 20 years, I oversaw multi-million-dollar budgets as one of the major divisions of Chandler Gilbert Community College. I also served on the Budget Development Committee for the Maricopa Community College District, which oversaw the entire district's budget. I possess the ability to grow effective relationships with critical services such as police and fire. You may know I have over 30 years of experience in law enforcement. I clearly understand what it's like to be a law enforcement officer. I clearly understand what first responders face, the challenges that they go to, and I can use that to bridge the relationship to help foster very good relationships with both police and fire. I have a knowledge of strategic planning and policy implementation that is developed over my many years of professional careers with both the Phoenix Police Department as well as the Maricopa Community College District. I have the ability to connect with Chandler residents of all backgrounds and ethnicities, the ability to listen to others, appreciate their perspective, and work hard to find consensus on a solution for the issue at hand. And finally, I bring a strong sense of integrity, ethics, and doing what's right for the citizens of Chandler.
Thank you. So, what would you envision your goals and priorities to be if you are selected as a council member?
I have a number of goals that I'd like to share with you. First of all, I would like to work on ensuring that Chandler's neighborhood remain a desirable and safe place for our residents. Because I believe that neighborhoods are the building blocks of our communities. And how so goes the neighborhoods in Chandler, so goes Chandler. We need to make sure that we allocate additional funding to staff our police and fire departments, as well as technology to support them, because they will be called upon to do more and more challenging things as our society evolves. We must maintain and enhance our city parks and other recreation areas so that our residents have a place where they can relax and enjoy one another and develop as families. I believe I am able to help us work collaboratively with all of Chandler's educational partners, both K-12 as well as higher education, to help our children excel academically and be ready for the careers of the 21st century. Part of that is continuing to fund school resource officers. I was a school resource officer. I know the value a school resource officer brings to the educational environment. I'd like to see us continue to do so because I think that's a very important aspect of how the city can contribute to what's going on in the school system today, particularly given the school shootings that we have seen occur across the country. We need to make sure we're mindful of that. You know, children cannot focus on their academics if they're concerned about whether or not they are going to come home safely. So as leaders, I think we need to do what we can to make sure that all children come home safely, and I want to contribute to that. I'd like to meet with small business owners to hear what their challenges are, to listen to them, to help them figure out how we can help their businesses thrive in the city of Chandler. My wife is the owner of a small business in Chandler. I understand what it's the challenges that they face, and I think I can bring that value to the city council.
Thank you. Dr. Crawford, can you please describe what you consider to be the biggest challenges that the city is currently facing?
Well, one of the challenges is ensuring that our city continues to maintain its sound fiscal policies with a structurally balanced budget while providing the necessary resources and personnel to respond to the needs of a growing community with increased demands for services. As our city continues to grow, we're about 256,000 people now, our demand for services are going to continue to grow. We need to prepare for that, plan for that, and expect that to occur. We need to take a look at how we are balancing the need for single-family and multifamily housing, as well as mixed-use commercial and residential facilities. Part of our community thinks that single-family housing is the way we have to go. There's a big part of our community that believes that multifamily housing is important. And then, as we look across the valley and we look across the country, what we're seeing is a mixed use of both residential and commercial. So how do we chart our future for Chandler going forward? How do we plan going forward that we can bring all of those in balance to make sure that we're serving the needs of all of our citizens, in addition to providing affordable housing to those residents that needs it? And finally, as Chandler grows, so will traffic and congestion. It will happen. So not only will we see that from our residents, but as a result of the many people who pass through Chandler on their way to work, school, or other purposes. It's important for Chandler to plan for those changes and implement policies that will address the future issues. For example, the council has recently made changes to allow for the number of parking spaces to be adjusted in new buildings related to autonomous vehicles. We must continue to plan for those kinds of things and implement the changes that are appropriate to make.
Thank you, Dr. Crawford. Thank you for being here. Over the past 5 years, what council policy decision or vote do you disagree with and why?
As I look at the council decisions over the past 5 years, what is evident to me is the council has worked very well together. Matter of fact, in reviewing the minutes, what jumped out to me is the number of votes that have been taken that are a consensus. And that's most of the decisions that have been made. And it's indicative of a commitment to collaboratively governing. It's an indicative of a collaborative approach to policy implementation. This year, the council approved budget reallocations of over $550,000 to fund 3 new positions for police, 1 new position in economic development, and 1 new position in the Parks Department for 2018-2019. I commend the city staff in identifying how to go about reallocating those funds. I'm sure that was not easy. It was challenging to do. And I also commend the city council for making the decision to do so. And while that represents a good start, we have to continue to move forward to ensure that we identify additional ways to reallocate funds to add new positions. As the Chandler grows, and it will grow, we'll need additional staff positions to do so. And one of the ways we can do that is by reallocating resources to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Crawford, we still got a few minutes left. If you want to make any more comments or closing comments, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As I alluded to in my opening comments, I have about 47 years of public service. 23 of those years was with the Phoenix Police Department, 24 with the Maricopa Community College District. But what perhaps is not evident in those years of experience is my ability to touch the lives of individuals. I could stand up here and talk to you about the number of awards I have received, the Coy Payne Man of the Year in 2016, the Educational Leadership Award, and so on and so on and so on. But I think what's most important for me to share with you is the most important award that I receive is when individuals tell me I have had an impact on their life. I value that so much, and I'm committed to that. And when I say I want to make a difference, it's because I believe we can make a difference in people's lives, in our society, if we take the time to listen, if we take the time to care, if we take the time to be respectful. And as a city council member, that's what I want to do. I want to listen to people. I want to appreciate their perspective. I want to help make a difference in the lives of our citizens because I believe it matters. Thank you.
Thank you. And feel free to stay for the remaining couple that we have. Appreciate that, though. Okay, council, we'll take another small break, 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and do the last. I think we have 2 left. So, 5 minutes. Sam. Okay, we'll reconvene the special city council meeting, and I will go to Mr. Sam Wong and ask him to draw one of the final two out of the hat.
Thank you for creating.
John Repar.
I am in effect the last man standing. The next candidate's a female.
Thanks for being here today, John. I think we'll start with your opening statement.
I want to thank the city council. I want to thank the staff for all the time you put into putting this thing together, because I know it takes a lot of time to do that. I know what your schedules are. I can appreciate it. And I just want to thank you for that. I want to thank the council, because I'm here because you picked me out of a group of 30 some odd to compete for this position. I appreciate that. That's recognizing my accomplishments in the city. And to me, it means a lot. I wish my father was alive. I know exactly what he would say if I could go and tell him about today and what I'm interviewing for. He put his hand out, because there's no hugs from my dad. He put his hand out and he would grab my hand and he'd say, "John, isn't this something? Just something." And I'd have to say to him back, "You know, it really is, Dad." So I appreciate your acknowledgement.
Great. Thank you, John. First question then, why do you wish to fill the council vacancy, sir?
The basic reason is that because I have more to contribute to Chandler than what I've done so far. My personality, I'm not satisfied with the present. I'm always looking forward. In racing, I learned that while you're busy celebrating, your competition was working to get by you. That means you got to be looking forward, you got to be moving ahead. My father also taught me a lesson when I was growing up, that he used to disappear and spend hours gone. He would go to the local hospitals and go to the local homes for the deaf, and he'd go read to the deaf, and he would go visit the sick. And I thought, what an act of charity that was to do that, and he planted those seeds in my head by example. He never talked about what he did. When I retired, I took some of those principles and began to get more involved in my community when that happened. I've got two principles in life that I kind of operate by. One is, do what makes you feel good about yourself. The corollary to that is, don't do things that make you feel bad about yourself. And the other rule is, if you're uncomfortable telling your parents about what you're doing, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. Guess what? My involvement with all the different facets that I've been involved with in Chandler, I feel good about myself. I like what I'm doing. Since I've been attending council meetings ever since I moved to Arizona, I can see the council. I know how you work. I know there's a lot of issues that you handle every day, a lot of standard items that need to be checked off the list, but you always have an eye towards the future. You have a respect for the gravity of the decisions you make, and I enjoy that. There's always concern for unintended consequences, and these are values that I believe in. With all my involvement in Chandler and civic events and the Chamber of Commerce and philanthropic organizations, I feel that I've been able to make a positive contribution, and I feel good about that. I feel good about trying to help my fellow citizens here in Chandler. Back to my dad's charity lesson. But I can do more. I want to stand on my accomplishments. I want to reach a little higher and see what more I can do in the city of Chandler by representing all of the citizens of Chandler by being on the city council. I don't take this lightly. I will give 100% for our joint success. This is not a life appointment. You need someone to hit the ground running, and that's me. I can do that.
Okay, John, I have a question for you. How have you been serving in the Chandler community, and what has been your involvement in the city of Chandler?
Well, you've all heard this before, but here it goes again. I've been attending city council meetings regularly since August of 2012. I don't think in that time to now I've missed even 10 meetings. Important to see how the council operates and considers issues and works with the staff to make decisions. I think candidates need to know that, especially in this position. At about the same time, I found Neighbors Who Care. That's where we drive seniors to and from appointments. I delivered meals, and I also did some handyman work. It was always cool to come up to some door and knock on the door, and come in, would be somebody in back there. They've been sitting there for hours, maybe all day long, waiting for somebody to come in with that meal to talk to them. And that was a very gratifying, enjoying experience that I had there. At the same time, a little bit later, I got involved with Kiwanis and Salvation Army. Of course, Kiwanis is to serve the children of Chandler, the children of the world, but the children of Chandler also in specific. And with the Salvation Army, I'm a bell ringer. I've been out doing that kind of thing and handing out toys at Christmas. I sit on the board of directors for each of those organizations. Shortly after that, the mayor appointed me to the Domestic Violence Commission. It's a very active group. We're currently working with high schools to fight date abuse and teen dating issues. We've been very well received, and that's a program that's going to go on. I want to invite everybody to our annual breakfast, which is going to be September 19th at the community center, so don't forget that date. I ran for city council in 2016 and just took my paper back for 2018, decided to stop the campaign there. I'm a hands-on candidate. I personally collected all of the signatures from Chandler citizens on my nomination petitions, both this year and at the other campaign. I've collected thousands, personally, myself. I think I'm having that personal contact with the citizens. I've gotten a lot of lectures. I've gotten a lot of conversations. But in that process, I also spoke with probably 500 to 1,000 people who are citizens of the surrounding community. And so from that, I get a view of how we're seen by the outside community, which I think helps round my picture out a little bit as far as understanding where the position of Chandler is. I joined the Chamber of Commerce about 3 years ago. I was a treasurer where I was living before in a state that will remain unnamed, which helped spawn me to join the Chamber here. Currently, I serve the co-chair in the Chamber Public Policy Series. This is where we interview dignitaries, local dignitaries right to the state level and get updates on a twice monthly meeting. I currently chair the How We Stand Committee, which is responsible for reviewing the Chamber policy, rewriting and updating every year. I have my final meeting of 10 tomorrow morning, which is important because that gives you a direct contact with your business community and businesses of all size, small, medium, and large, and you find out what's important to them as these policies get rewritten and what gets included or taken out of those policies. I've attended hundreds of events over the years. City events include Coffee with the Cops, the annual meeting honoring the police and fire that were lost in service, groundbreakings, dedications, HOA training series, mayor annual address, mayor's community tours, and many others.
What strengths would you bring to the city council?
Personal characteristics. I have an open mind. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I want to hear new ideas. I like to be challenged. I learn a lot more from the people that disagree with me than the people that agree with me. I've been told that I'm very insightful, but really what I've learned to do is just shut up and listen to what the other person has to say. Turn off that I got to hear my voice button and listen. They will tell you what's on their mind. By the same token, I'm creative. I've got a lot of experience behind me, and I've prided myself with being able to find a solution, think out of the box, and take what's available and work out a solution that will solve the problem at hand. In experience, I'm very hands-on. I was hands-on during my entire career, always in the plant, always with the people. I've got a pretty well-rounded view of the city of Chandler. I spent time with the council. I spent time with the business community through my involvement with the chamber. I spent time with the charities volunteering to help the less fortunate in our community. I've spent time at the grassroots level shaking hands with Chandler citizens. I think I have a well-rounded background. Education-wise, I've got a good formal education, a BS and MBA in business. I've got 40 years of work experience in responsible positions where I've moved my way up the ladder, had financial responsibilities, dealt with financial reports virtually all of my business life. And of course, I've been in different companies, in different industries. I've got an idea of how things are done in different ways, how you can get to the same result from different places. I'm a critical thinker. I'm a fact seeker. I believe in a collaborating process in a team environment. I like to draw on the skills of my partners, of the other people that are around me to get the best solution. What that means is I can compromise. I don't have to have my way. We can be a team effort. I'm alert, I'm energetic and motivated. I'm not preoccupied with an agenda. I'm here simply to serve the people of Chandler. I'm a familiar face with you, the council. I'm a familiar face with the staff. I am available. I have the time. I know the workload. I've been around you guys for years. The time commitment, I understand, and the need to put limits on that time commitment so that you're in control and you don't burn yourself out too quick. I understand all of that. I'm ready to hit the road running.
Thank you very much. So what would you envision your goals and priorities to be if you are selected as a council member?
My first priority is to become a positive resource to the council and the staff. I've got a lifetime of experience to draw on. I've had to work my way out of corners that I painted myself into more than once. These experiences may present a view from a slightly different angle. Maybe I can bring some things to the table that the other council members wouldn't think of. As I said earlier, I don't have an agenda of change. Chandler's been fortunate to have a steady, forward-looking leadership for the last 20 or 30 years at least. I want to be part of that valuable tradition. I want us to continue the close relationship with the business community through the Chamber of Commerce. We need to be responsive to changing business and regulatory environment, even predictive if we can do it. I'm concerned about our repurposing of commercial assets in the city. I want to look past what they were designed for and look at what they can be used for. How can things that prohibit us be modified or changed so that we can use those facilities? What changes and regulations can encourage this? I'm interested in downtown development. This is a key area still unrealized. I want the downtown residents and property owners treated fairly and extreme care be taken before committing assets. Flexibility is important, and I laud the design of these parking structures that are going into downtown that are to be made in a way that they can be converted for other uses at a later date if needed. Finally, I'm a senior citizen, and I'm sensitive to this Chandler minority. About 10 to 18% of the population in Chandler is in this group. No insult to you gentlemen intended, but you cannot understand how it feels to be a senior until you are one. You really can't relate. I would bring that to the council. We've not had a representative on council for at least one term now that representing that group of citizens. Seniors are not ignored, but if you visit the senior center, it looks like it's aged itself. Parks throughout the city could stand a closer look to better accommodate this valuable segment of our population. I'm not talking about wheelchair ramps here. I'm talking about facilities for active seniors. Chandler has an image of a high-tech, vibrant city supporting the younger population, but there's nothing saying that we can't be a world-class city for seniors also.
Thank you, John. Next question is, please describe what you consider to be the biggest challenges that the city of Chandler is currently facing?
I think there's 3 areas of concern that I want to talk about here. One is city employment culture. The city has had a long run of stable employment with a low turnover rate. Current employees have a good degree of seniority and have experienced the crazy growth, the Great Recession, and the slow recovery. They come to work every day with a what can I do attitude and not the I'm here to do my job attitude. There's a difference. An example, Assistant City Manager Nache Marquez recently retired. In her last council meeting, Councilmember Harkey asked her what I thought was a key question, and that is, I want to know all the things you do that are not in your job description. I thought that was right on point. Too many times in business, I've seen the feeling of entitlement creep in. I've done this, I've done that, I deserve whatever the thing happens to be. I think it's important for council to be on guard along with the city manager to keep the what I can do attitude in the workforce as we go through this retirement series and start replacing employees. It's so easy to lose that. I've seen it. The second area in dealing with is the impending build-out. I think, in a way, we refer to build-out like it's some big event, when in fact, I think it's really just a process when we change gears from a high growth to a more of a maintenance kind of a framework. But in no way do I say we stop encouraging looking for high growth. But we need to make an adjustment in our thinking as far as the assets that we have. I've looked at the figures in the government funds revenue section of the city's financial reports from 2003 to 2016. All areas pretty well moved with growth, recession, and recovery cycle of our economy. I was looking specifically at sales tax revenues, thinking there would be a higher growth rate. There has not. It stayed consistent, but it hasn't grown disproportionately. This sort of brings the downtown development more into focus for me, I think. At the last city budget meeting, I was glad to see an increase in the budget for infrastructure maintenance for roads. I think we need to stay on top of this item, as well as the parks. This is one of the first areas in my experience that begin to decline that result in declining property values in the cities that I've had experience with. My third area of concern is technology. I attended the technology seminar a few weeks ago at the Chamber, and also the Bitcoin and blockchain seminar class that they had, that Councilman Stewart was at the other day. And frankly, I come out of those meetings on fire. Things are moving so fast in development. I don't think I've absorbed half of what they were talking about in those meetings. But the advances in medicine, transportation, and communications are going to change the landscape, and it's going to happen fast. It's going to be just a matter of a few years. It's not going to be a decade. So that means that is an immediate concern to stay on top of that. However, with technology, it's important to look at technology from an ROI standpoint, a return on investment. It's very easy to get caught up, staff and otherwise, with, oh, I got to have that because it's the latest and greatest thing. Instead, we need to look at technology to see how it can be applied to either reduce costs or deter increased costs. I think what that means is that there's going to be a lot of pressure on the council in order to look deep and ask the right questions as this technology comes into place. And I believe I know how to ask those questions.
Thank you, John. Thank you for being here and talking about the challenges faced. Can you talk a little bit about the past 5 years and what council policy or vote we have made that you disagree with and why?
I'm going to pull this one up from some time that I think it was 2015. I was at a council meeting and a group of citizens had gotten a measure before the council. And this had to do with allowing them to grow chickens, have chickens in their backyard. And I see those that were there, remember that. I laughed myself when I saw that come up. I kind of snickered at it. But there were 20 or 30 active groups, people in each group for and against that. The staff came up and they gave their presentation on that. And the presentation was that, first of all, Chandler is one of the few cities in the area that restricts that. But what restricts that was a law that was passed somewhere in the 50s or 60s, back when we had chicken ranches all over the place, that required that the coops had to be no closer than 50 feet, as I recall, from the property line. Well, that wiped out having chickens in most residents in the city because you're not going to have 50 feet from any proper line in the residence. So I thought about that. They went through, and matter of fact, I think the council put that vote off for a second meeting, if I remember right, because there was such an uproar about it. And I thought about that for a while, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, let's think about the issue we have here. We have an outdated law with an unintended consequence that took away rights of the people. The argument against that, which was to not let chickens be there, was a smoke and mirror thing about, well, this could happen, that could, but no one brought one single fact up, one single example of any of these things ever happening. I don't make my decisions based on fear. I'll take them into account and I'll take a guess what's the likelihood of that happening. But in this case, they didn't have one single proof of evidence saying that, oh yeah, this is what was going to happen, or property values are going to decline, or whatever it happened to be. So the council went ahead and voted to not pass that measure. And I think it was a split vote, 5-2 or something like that. But I was disappointed. Because in principle, as a government, we're constantly taking away, and we're taking things away from the people all the time and telling them what they're going to do. And here's a chance where we have an outdated law that nobody knew why it was there. We had unintended consequences of restricting property rights. We had an opportunity to give those rights back, and we didn't do it. If I were on the council today, I would have voted to approve that measure.
Okay, John, we're just about out of time. Any closing comment?
No, again, I want to really thank you. I know it's a long day for you guys, and you've got a lot more coming. So I really appreciate your time and attention. It's sitting over there waiting and all that's kind of a nervous situation, but I made it through it, so.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Feel free to observe the last person. I think she meant to get it. There's two of them here.
Sam. Thank you very much.
Jill Hudson. Dave, we want to thank you for letting us use the LA Dodger hat. We appreciate that.
He's the only one I've tenured with. He's the only one that's eligible.
Jill Hudson, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
I think what we'll do, thank you for being patient. I know it was a long wait. You had the last straw drawn. That's the way it worked. So we'll see. But thank you for being here. And with that, we're ready for your opening statement.
Very much. Good evening, and thank you very much for this opportunity. I am Jill Hudson, and I am honored and humbled to be one of the 9 chosen to be able to interview for the City Council seat. A little bit about me. I am an Arizona native, 2nd generation. I married a 3rd generation Arizona native, and our daughters are 4th generation Arizona natives. I'm a Chandler resident of 18.5 years. We specifically moved back. We lived in Virginia for a short while my husband was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, in the naval base there. We decided to come back home, of course, to Arizona, and we chose Chandler. I grew up in Glendale. My husband grew up in Tempe. And we definitely could have picked any city. And we knew this was a place for us. Not only the schools, but the city, the government, the services. It was a beautiful city as well. So I'm very, very proud, not only just a resident, but I'm an active resident. We use the parks a lot, the aquatic centers. We absolutely love everything that Chandler has to offer. We take advantage of it. We shop, we dine, we choose Chandler more than any other city given that opportunity, especially Chandler Center for the Arts, et cetera, the festivals. So I just can't say enough about the city. A little bit else about me. I am a Chandler business owner. I have my own law firm, and I've been doing that for a couple of years. I'm a former prosecutor with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, military spouse. My husband has just celebrated 25 years as a commander in the Navy Reserves. Parent of 2 amazing daughters who attend Chandler Unified Schools and have since kindergarten. And I'm a parent of 3 rescued dogs. So that's just a little snapshot. I think I can offer quite a bit just in terms of my background, my experience, and all of the different viewpoints that I could represent.
Great, thank you. Why do you wish to fill the council vacancy? And you may have covered part of it there, but
Oh, thank you.
feel free to elaborate.
Absolutely. Just in terms of what I feel I can add in terms of value, I believe that with my background and experience and the different viewpoints that I could represent, and I do represent, I really do believe that I could serve the city. And I don't have personal goals that I'm trying to achieve by being on city council. What I see myself as is being able to bridge gaps, being able to talk to all different kinds of people, regardless of who they are, their background, their education, and being very comfortable in making sure that their voices are heard. One thing that I absolutely love is what you do, Mayor, is the listening tour. And I would love to do that also as a city council member, maybe even call them like a town hall or a living room tour or something where we maybe even could go into the library or a different community center and expand upon that. So just to really being able to hear what the residents would want and be able to help them with their needs.
Terry?
Hey, Jill. How have you been serving in the Chandler community, and what has been your involvement in the city of Chandler?
Thank you. For the city, and specifically in Chandler, I've been very, very active with the schools that my daughters have attended, anywhere from first grade copy crew, all the way up to the PTO, site council. I've been on site councils for 3 different schools, and the latest school I was asked to be the representative for the superintendent's parents council, where we would actually go and visit with Dr. Castile on a quarterly basis. And I found that to be very, very educational, very eye-opening. And it was my responsibility then to go back to the school, and I was representing Castile High School at that time, and then give that information and actually start talking to the parents there. So this seems as if it would be a continuation of kind of that strength that I could bring just in serving, hearing, and wanting to know what people want to have accomplished. And certainly that's what I would see my role as city council, which would be to serve the taxpayers and the residents.
What strengths would you bring to the city council?
Thank you. I believe, again, with just my experiences, my involvement, the different viewpoints that I could bring, being anywhere from a part-time worker, stay-at-home mom, government employee, for-profit employee, now I'm my own business owner, really, really, truly being able to bridge gaps, as I'd mentioned, talking to any kind of person, really hearing, really listening, and hearing what they want. And along those lines, before we even received these questions, when I heard that I was chosen to be one of the interviewees, I reached out to a bunch of our friends and family who are Chandler residents, and I said, if you don't mind, just give me anything that you love, something that maybe you don't like, anything about the city, because it's very difficult for me to find anything I don't like about Chandler. So I was just, give me something that perhaps we could improve on, and if I'm chosen, I can improve on. And it's just incredible to hear what people are willing to say, and they feel comfortable talking with me, and I would like to help effectuate, change and other things that they would want done for the city.
So what would you envision your goals and priorities to be if you are selected as a council member?
Thank you. I would like to kind of see, and again, this was taking from a lot of the opinions that I had also gathered from those Chandler residents, and I agree with many of these. It would be really, namely, public safety has to be first and foremost. I know that this city prides itself and it is doing an incredible job of being one of the very safest cities. We have to continue that, and it can be even safer. So definitely public safety would have to be high on the agenda. Also, that bridging the gap also with schools. I realize that the city does not pay for the schools. I know that that comes from the state. However, there could be so much that the city can actually add and do, and I really believe that I could be an incredible person in terms of adding value to that relationship between the city and the schools. Just like we hear all the time, when businesses choose to come to Chandler as opposed to another city, a lot of it is based upon our education system. And that is very important, very, very important. And I just hope that people don't lose sight of that and they don't underestimate the value of that. And then the other one I would like to add would be really increasing the amount of festivals, the amount of neighborhood type activities. The Ostrich Festival, we haven't missed one in years. That is one of the fun events that we always like to go to and bring all kinds of people, friends and family that have never been. You know, I have family coming from Peoria or Surprise, and they are just amazed at how well run that is. And I think we could do a lot more. I think Tumbleweed is an incredible park, and I think that would be just a great community event to have more of those.
Thank you. My question for you is, please describe what you consider to be the biggest challenges that the city of Chandler currently is facing.
Thank you. Well, certainly driving around and having lived here for so long, we do know, of course, that there are areas that really are in need of some revitalization. We don't want to ignore older neighborhoods, older areas, older businesses. And so I think that is definitely a challenge to just keep up with that. While at the same time we're dealing with the growth, the explosive growth, obviously, and we're trying to attract the new businesses as well. They may want a new build, but we also definitely want to take a look at, and I think another big challenge is to make sure that we are giving that attention to those older areas, older businesses. I'm a big fan of the partnerships, perhaps, with businesses. Not that the government, not that the city's just going to be writing checks, but that perhaps more partnerships to revitalize and perhaps, you know, give some sort of a tax incentive at some point, but not give it all the way.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you for being here. Appreciate your answers so far. So the council, let me rewind. As you look at what council has done over the last 5 years, what policy decision or vote do you disagree with, and can you share with us why?
Yes, and again, this is something where I'm reaching out to other residents, and a common theme that I did hear was that more public safety. I guess more specifically, I had heard from a couple of people that I think it was asked or requested that they would get a designated second, specifically a second bike unit for just like the downtown area. And just to really be able to keep that safe, because we have so many people that love to come downtown to this incredible new area that is revitalized, obviously. And I think that that would be something to where we would need more of that. So that would just be one area that I would like to see improved on that.
Okay, very good. You got a few more minutes if you want to make any closing comments or any general comments.
Okay, thank you. One thing I do want to mention is I was reading the goals of the city council, and one of the very first words it says is they want it to create, or you all want it to be, a place where people would want to visit. And then it says work, play, live. I love that the word visit is first. And I really, really relate with that, because Chandler should not just be a place where people just work or just live. You can make this a destination. This would be fantastic. Chandler Center for the Arts is amazing. So many people love when they go there, but a lot of people don't get a chance to. They maybe not even know about it. So again, I think that would be great to have Chandler as a destination. And I would love to see more venues, as I mentioned already, entertainment venues, perhaps more parks that could handle something like an Ostrich Festival. And the other thing I would like to add is more citizen, perhaps recognition, maybe a citizen recognition awards for doing various things in their communities. And that's all. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, council. We're very fortunate to have the caliber of citizens that came before us today. Chandler's in good hands. What the council is going to do now, we're going to adjourn this meeting. We have a study session at 7, and then at some point, we'll go into executive session and deliberate on this and the decision we need to make. And then hopefully we can have reached an agreement or a decision tonight. If not, we'll have to schedule another meeting for Tuesday or Wednesday to continue to discuss this. The goal is to have this position hopefully ready to be recommended by the city council on Thursday at the council meeting. So that's where we're trying to get to this week, and this was the first step. Again, want to thank everybody that appeared. It's something that we have a great citizenry, a diverse citizenry, and I was very impressed with all the interviews, and I'm very appreciative that we've got great people that are wanting to get involved with a great city. So with that, council, this meeting is adjourned.